Tonight I am joined with
Matt Thomas, the Rambo-Manian, on Studio Red Band from Matt Cast, and everyone's favorite cyber extraterrestrial,
Wildmanbeyond. Greetings and salutations once again, fellow YouTubers.
And speaking of Mars, happy 30th to Total Recall. Well, yesterday was the 30th anniversary.
Yes. Yeah, one of my favorites. One of my favorites. It's too bad we don't have the three tits ladies up here, but it's worth a fantasy.
Just try to get her for an interview.
But you got you got Matt Damon's potatoes though, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, you know what? You're onto something. I might get lucky.
But tonight, we're gonna talk about Cobra.
Yes.
And
indeed.
A little bit about Cobra, sort of the Beverly Hills Cop connection with Cobra. The ideas for the sequel, right, Matt? Am I getting that right?
Yeah, I think the first part is we're going to talk a little bit about once again from Jack Craven.
Yeah, Jack Craven.
Helped us out this.
Craven the Raven. Can't wait to have him on.
Woo! Good stuff. Whenever Jack comes, he comes loaded. So today is no exception. So we got a little bit of what could have been Stallone's Beverly Hills Cop, and then kind of the early ensembles for Cobra, which the rumor was that they were going to save for the sequel. So we kind of got like a look at what could have been in the sequel for Cobra, and then we got a little touch on the remake, Fair Game, which I also hear that they're remaking now, and Robert Rodriguez and Sly are doing Cobra series sequel, and you can get Running Duck by Paula Gosling, the one that started the novel that started it all. You can get that on Kindle.
I can't wait to get into that.
Really good price on Kindle right now, like $5.
Interesting.
Under $5, I think.
And we're going off some notes here from Jack Craven. And again, shout out to him. Thank you for providing the info.
Yeah. This is like one of those dream ones where it was like, man, it's like there's information out there, but it's so hard to find. So, like, thank you, Jack, for that. You know, just to illuminate on that. It's just phenomenal because it's like one of those things that you would think that people would have talked more about. Like, I've heard John Landis talk about it a little bit. He said, he read the script.
John Landis was supposed to direct this?
Well, John Landis, he was talking to the guy who made Victory. And the story about that was that, they were filming out in this location. They got Sly to go off into this field in the middle of the night. And then he was like, well, how do I know, like, how far to go? And they were like, we're going to tell you when you get there. And he got super, super far out into the wilderness. And then they turned off all the lights on him and packed up. But in that interview that John Landis was talking about, because he was talking about that for some reason, he also talked about reading the Beverly Hills Cobra script, and like he just hated it. He hated it. He hated what they were going to do. Now I don't know if he read the original script or Stallone's script, or the script that would later become the movie. I'm not sure, but he said at that point Stallone was attached. Yeah. But yeah, I love John Landis. Just love him to death.
Of course, he directed my favorite horror film of all time, American Werewolf in London, and of course, he directed a very classic music video. You know the one I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. Thriller.
Michael Jackson. Yes, because Michael Jackson saw what he did with American Werewolf in London, and he asked him to do it. So you can, when you watch the video, you can see some of the makeup effects by Rick Baker he used for American Werewolf in London.
And I liked how they didn't just go werewolf. It was like a werecat.
Yeah.
I like that.
John, have you seen American Werewolf in London yet?
But I'll be honest, I haven't.
Oh my God! Check it out soon, man. You know what? Put that in request maybe somehow later.
You haven't seen American Werewolf in London?
No, believe it or not.
Wow. Well, it's a good one.
Every time we do one of these discussions, there's some kind of film that we mentioned that I haven't seen yet.
And I just read they have a good radio play of it on YouTube, but BBC.
Really?
They have a radio play of it on YouTube by the BBC, the British Broadcast channel on YouTube.
Neat.
That's sad too, because like John Landis, man, I know he's been dealt his fair share of cards and everything. His wife also is really great. Not props, but costume design, I think. It's just sad how that goes with Max Landis. Max Landis was such a fucking genius, and then we found out he was an evil genius. That's sad too, because there's so many Max Landis scripts that I was trying to read, and after the news came out about that, I can't bring myself to read them anymore. Like Mario. Mario's a 9-hour movie. I was halfway through, maybe. Chronicle 2.
Yeah.
Have you seen Chronicle yet?
Do you remember? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just asking you guys if you've seen Chronicle.
I haven't seen Chronicle yet.
Good movie. I love Chronicle. Chronicle is a very good movie. By the way, speaking of John Landis, you remember the incident that happened on the Twilight Zone movie?
Yeah, that's what I mean by dealt cards. Like, damn, he must. I've seen him in interviews where they try to ask him about that, and he's just like not having it, and I don't blame him. That's gotta be, it's like filmmaking. People, they try to make the movie they love, and sometimes these things, I know it's a horrible thing to say. Sometimes these things happen, but sometimes these things really do happen. Like you see it all the time, like Michael Jackson when his hair caught on fire, or all these things that could happen.
And of course, Stallone. Speaking of Stallone, I'm sure he had a few accidents on set for sure.
Yeah, he got set on fire in Rambo 3.
Oh wow.
Yeah, David Morrell. I was talking to David Morrell, and he said Sly got set on fire.
His hair caught on fire like Michael Jackson, because Rambo was known as long hair, just like Michael Jackson. His whole arm got set on fire.
In Rambo 3?
Wow.
Yeah. When he's on the horse and he comes by and he grabs the Molotov cocktail and he's riding and he's like, and then the tank shoots him and he falls on the ground. Boom. Set his arm on fire.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's such a powerful scene too. Like everyone gives Rambo 3 shit, but like really, Rambo 3 is probably one of the most beautiful films I've ever seen. Like it holds up today.
It's my favorite of the series. It's
underrated.
Totally. Such a great movie.
Doesn't deserve all the flack.
Considering that like they had to abandon 80% of the movie, like the day before filming, they had to abandon 80% and find a new director. I think they did really good.
They did.
Yeah. Man.
Okay, so going back to Cobra, what was John Landis' connection again?
That he got to read it before it was Beverly Hills Cop.
Is that mentioned in this first set right here that we're gonna?
I don't know actually. It might be. Let me start off. Okay, so it says back when Stallone was involved in the film around 1984, 2 different versions of the script were rewritten at his request. Daniel Petrie Jr. That may sound familiar to people.
I think he directed. I'm just gonna guess here. I think he directed Toy Soldiers.
That's a good movie. Very underrated movie.
I could be wrong.
I haven't seen that movie yet.
Oh my God! Sean Astin was in it. Will Wheaton, Louis Gossett Jr. Very underrated movie. It was kind of like The Great Escape meets Red Dawn, because they were trying to escape. These terrorists took over the school, and they were trying to use their wits to get out. And very underrated movie.
It's actually on my list to watch with Over the Edge.
Check it out, man.
Yeah.
You're gonna love it. Very underrated movie. Toy Soldiers.
But go
Toy
ahead.
Soldiers right on and Over the Edge, actually. I can't find that movie anywhere. Do you know like, oh man, do they have it on
There's some you can find it at Cam somewhere. There's some on cam websites you can find it. I'm sure it's on demand, so you can just push your remote, like it'll probably show up on demand.
I'm probably gonna end up buying that movie Over the Edge because I saw that Pumpkin video that they remixed to Over the Edge, and that was just phenomenal. Like, that just made me cry. Totally, I could totally see myself in that situation as a young person. Not saying like gangster or anything, but I mean, I could totally see like what that could have been like in that time.
Yeah.
Very very interesting. Very interesting.
Okay.
Did you ever do any videos on that one on Over the Edge?
I've never seen that.
No, I haven't. Yeah, no, I haven't done any videos on that. But I want to check it out. I want to check that movie out again.
We should do that one at one point.
Yeah.
Okay, so Daniel Petrie Jr., who wrote the original Beverly Hills Cop script, was given a list of notes by Stallone, from which he rewrote the script. But then Stallone did his own rewrite. Here is the only info we got about it. So it says, it had less humor and comedy and tons more action and graphic violence. Stallone said how it was as bloody as the opening scene in Saving Private Ryan, another great movie. Stallone changed the name of the main character into Axel Cobra and also gave him a nickname, the Motor City Cobra. Do you think it would have been called the Motor City Cobra?
That would have been an interesting title.
I think Stallone wanted to call it that because of Beverly Hills Cop. He was inspired by the title Beverly Hills Cop, and he wanted to call it Motor City. He wanted to call it Beverly Hills Cobra, and then he's like, "What if I call it Motor City Cobra instead of Beverly Hills Cobra or something?" I think that was the inspiration for him to call it that. But I'm glad it was simply called Cobra.
Because, like Cobra turns out it's kind of more like a horror movie. But, like, would it be cool, like, imagine if they would have made this movie and, like, halfway through the movie, Sly goes to Hollywood or Beverly Hills, and it's kind of like...
Cobra goes to Hollywood.
Yeah, it's like that. It's like that boogeyman. It's like that John Wick, like, oh, the Motor City Cobra is coming.
It would have been a cool title.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
So Mike Tandino was changed to be his brother instead of his best friend. Jenny was also changed to be Axel's love interest and not just a friend. Billy was originally called Siddons, and he died in the middle of the script during one of the action scenes. The ending included a huge chase scene, which took place at night, and it had Cobretti driving his turbocharged Pontiac GTO and chasing the main bad guy, who is driving a stolen Lamborghini. And the finale of the chase had two of them in a chicken game against a freight train, and the bad guy died after crashing into it.
Huh. Oh my God! Can you imagine? Instead of the GTO, it was the Mercury during those things.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Oh,
of course,
yeah.
The car chase is so iconic. So I'm gonna be honest. I love Bullet, but Cobra is my favorite car chase because it's very underrated. That was like the first car chase I ever saw.
Yeah, that was a great car chase.
It's very underrated. No one talks about all these car chases. Of course, Bullet was the archetype, but of course you had the French Connection to Live and Die in L.A. But Cobra, no one talks about that. Very underrated car chase. That's why I call it my favorite.
I got to talk to Dave Friedman a little bit. I didn't know at the time he was in the hospital, and we talked a little bit while he was in the hospital about his work on this. He did the car chase. He did the car chase for Cobra, and he worked on Rambo 3, and I just heard the other day that he worked on Rambo 2. And I was talking to another source very, very close to the film about it, and they said that there was so much taken out.
Oh, really?
So much, yeah. like we got on the topic of over the top because at the time I had contacted that person to find out about the about all the things that happened on over the top, and I guess I could drop it here that they pointed me in a direction to talk to some of the stunt guys involved on that because there actually was rig flipping and stuff like that. So technically, I don't know if I could contact the guy. It's kind of like the hitman from Over the Top who was taken out of the movie. There was a hitman who goes after Link. Yeah. So it's just very interesting because they were talking to me about how, on Cobra there was so much that no one has any idea about that we never got to see. So I thought it was pretty cool. Anyway, so after Stallone left the project, he reused some parts from his Beverly Hills Cop script for Cobra, mostly some of the action sequences, but early drafts of Cobra script had much more parts from his Beverly Hills Cop script than the movie.
Interesting.
I'm guessing than the movie of Eddie Murphy.
And now we're getting to... Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
I said, looks like we're about to spill into the ideas that were going to be used for the sequel.
Yeah. That's another, that's an interesting one when you get to it, because you would think that Cobra would have been a trilogy easily,
Yeah, it could have been Stallone's Dirty Harry.
Exactly. Dirty Harry.
There's Dirty Harry elements in it.
Andrew Robinson
and Gonzalez.
Yeah, and Scorpio, he plays Andrew Robinson. He plays Scorpio in the first Dirty Harry. He was the bad guy, and then Cobra, he played the asshole authority figure. And of course, the same actor who played his partner in Dirty Harry, what's his name? I forgot his name. It's Renee something.
Santiago.
Rennie Santori.
Santori, yeah.
Poppy
from Seinfeld, yeah.
Yeah, he played a character named Gonzalez in both movies.
It's
cool. Dirty Harry. Yeah, Dirty Harry. It led the way for those type of characters, the renegade cop that don't play by any rules to catch the bad guy. It was the archetype. Dirty Harry was the archetype for Cobra, and other characters like Martin Riggs in Lethal Weapon. Bruce Willis in Die Hard. Those type of characters, which is kind of missing in movies nowadays, and it's kind of like what we need today. Instead of all this crap that cops are getting being racist and corrupt and all of this, especially the crap going on now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think? Okay, what year was Dirty Harry?
72.
Dirty Harry.
71.
1971.
1971. Let me do a little digging really quick.
All right.
1971.
Yeah, in 1971, that was a rough time like it was now because I remember watching the documentary of Dirty Harry. Martin Luther King and JFK were assassinated, and people were angry, and people were kind of looking for some hero, and then Dirty Harry came out, and then it changed everything.
Yeah. Okay.
The same thing with Death Wish. Death Wish came out in 1974.
What year was Dirty Harry again?
1971.
71?
Yeah. Okay. All right, never mind. I was trying to go on, do you think, because the characters are named the same twice, do you think that they looked at Running Duck for Dirty Harry, but it says here it's 1970. See there, 1970. So
Running Duck.
That would not be the case. Yeah, Running Duck came out in 1978. It's just weird because when you read it, especially when you get to the introduction of the Cobra character, I'm not in the Fair Game movie. He's called Malchek. I forget what his name is in the book, but Gonzalez is still Gonzalez, and it's cool how Sly wrote Gonzalez based off the book, and like the relationship between Cobra and Gonzalez in the Cobra movie is exactly like the Cobra. It's exactly like Paula Gosling's Running Duck book.
You know what? You saying this book was made in 1971, right? Same year? as Dirty Harry?
No, Paula Gosling's Running Duck was 1978.
Because if the book Running Duck, aka Fair Game, you had a cop, you had a cop who was kind of like a Dirty Harry type of cop who was protecting this woman, and you know that leads to a theory. Do you think that the story of the book was they tried to make it into, instead of Cobra, or trying to make it a Dirty Harry movie, but they couldn't get Clint Eastwood, so they decided to do like a make it into Cobra?
I could see that, but I guess it's just a good coincidence that Gonzalez in the book, you know, like
exactly.
That's Gonzalez and Cobra Gonzalez. Yeah, I could see that. Because that's exactly, like, I've never even thought about that before. Of like, I'm not that versed in Dirty Harry, so hey, could it be possible that maybe both movies were based off the same book, but apparently not? But I don't know. Is Dirty Harry based on a book?
I don't know.
But you know, they did that story with Clint Eastwood, a Dirty Harry type of story where he's protecting this woman. You know that movie, The Gauntlet? That movie he did with Sandra Locke?
I've heard about it.
I think so.
It wasn't Dirty Harry, but he kind of had almost that same story about he was trying to protect this witness, that they're trying to kill them, and he was going out with Sandra Locke at the time. He was playing her in a lot of his movies, just like Charles Bronson was putting his wife Jill Ireland in them, and it kind of had that same story about he was protecting this woman they're both trying to escape these killers and everything, just like Fair Game and Cobra.
It's very interesting. Like, it's such a paradox, because it's like, you know, like, it's like the Rambo paradox, except it's Cobra. It kind of lives on in these different ethereal backgrounds. You know, like, there's the book, and then there's the movie, and then there's like this remake with Cindy Crawford and Baldwin, and then you know, and now not only are we getting a remake and a sequel, but it's going to be like two different worlds, and it's just a weird hodgepodge of things. I still all look at it as it's the same continuity, but you know, I don't want to say continuity, but I look at it as it's like the same world, just, you know, different people. But it's very interesting because you can see how there was a lot of ideas there.
Yeah.
And then Beverly Hills Cop also, you know, like, do you think? I'm wondering, like, I guess it would be far to say that, you know, anyone from Beverly Hills Cop had that background with Paula Gosling, but I assume it's only Stallone.
You know what? Don't forget the villain from Beverly Hills Cop. You know, what's his name? David Burt. What's his name?
Yeah, the guy from Breaking Bad there.
No. I'm talking about the main villain, Victor Maitland.
Oh, Podolsky.
Victor Maitland. Yeah, villain in Beverly Hills Cop, and then he played the villain in Rambo: First Blood Part 2. Then he ended up playing the villain in Fair Game.
Yeah. Fuck.
Yeah.
We gotta get that motherfucker on the show. Yeah. I wrote to him at one point because my wife was watching some TV show. I forget what it was, but Steven Berkoff looked so old in the show, and I was like, "Is that fucking Podolsky?" And she was like, "Who's Podolsky?" Right? And I'm like, "That's the guy from Rambo and Victor Maitland. He was Beverly Hills Cop." And she was like, she had no idea what I was talking about, but yeah, like, he would be interesting to talk to, because I wonder if we bounced that off of him, if he would realize, like sometimes I'll talk to people and they don't realize that they had these other things, like Neil Ross. You know, like, I was talking to Neil Ross a bit, but Neil Ross didn't see that there was other paradoxes. Or I was wondering if there was other paradoxes to other films, like he did, like Gremlins and Explorers and this and that and this and that. And they're all connected. You know, like, just little things like that I would love to ask Steven Berkoff if he knew about that. Like, you know, all these movies are connected in this way and in that way.
Yeah.
which is so great about what Jack does. Because what Jack does is he kind of connects the dots between a lot of these things.
I'm kind of like that myself. I kind of connect dots myself in what movies I watch.
Yeah, I love the dot. I love the dot connect.
Yeah.
You know, like
6 degrees.
There's some of them. Yeah, there's some of them that are really crazy, like Soldier. You know, like Soldier, argumentably, it's like one thing, but it ends up being not only another movie, but there was all of these ties to it that you could have made another. Or like when we were talking about Arnold, like Valverde, how there was all these other aspects of Valverde, all these other things took place there. So they're all in these connected universes. So that, you know, I just love that because, like, a lot of things, like with the Rambo stuff, a lot of things I was trying to put to bed, especially with First Blood. I was trying to figure them out, and there was just these little things that were missing, and Jack comes in and he realigns your focus, and he gives you these, like, you know, he connects those dots for you.
Exactly.
Very beautiful thing he does.
He does a good job.
And it's just it's weird because, like, it's like you would think that these things would be out there, that everyone would be talking about them, and like I'm only seeing lately where people are starting to do videos like this. You know, it's like you guys have been doing videos like this for a long time.
Yeah, it seems like people are a little bit more talking. You know, like, for example, I mean, I see people talking about unproduced movies. Like someone did, like, who was it, Joe Blow did a whole thing about I Am Legend or something.
Yeah, and then that other page that we were looking at, I forget the name of it, but they did that guy also does some really great work. Jack also sent me a link to that Super Voice Cinema, and I was like, like he did that Poe video, and I was like, oh, that's an amazing video. I wouldn't have, like, I wanted to do Poe, but I did not have the balls to do it. I was like, no, I can't do it right now, just in case. But like this guy came out and he actually talked about it. And it was like very beautiful because it was very. You could see where other people are finding the love for that, where no one's looked at that before.
Yeah.
Right. I like that. I remember there was a video of what happened to James Cameron's Spider-Man.
Yeah, I saw that today. Yeah. Yeah. This we gotta talk to Superboy. He's got some pretty good stuff, man. His Marvel stuff is like really amazing.
Oh yeah.
It's like I've only heard about things like that on the projection booth. I've only seen like that there.
Man.
And then that's thanks to Jack, because I would have never known about that show. A couple of years ago, Jack was like, "You gotta check out this show, Projection Booth," with David Morrell, because he came on for First Blood, and I was just like, wow. Or his Demolition Man, or Get Carter. He has an amazing Get Carter episode. You got like, amazing Get Carter, like superbly amazing Get Carter. Or Demolition Man too.
Channel?
It's called the Projection Booth.
Projection Booth. Yeah, I'll check that out.
Yeah, because I was looking for Spartan's Daughter for a long time. I was fucking IMDb this, that, everything else. I was trying to find her, and then one day I'm listening to Projection. After Jack sends me the First Blood Projection Booth, I'm listening to Projection Booth. I'm going through seeing what Stallone movies they have, and they have Demolition Man, and then bam, it's like they name dropped the daughter, and I was like, God damn, like.
I saw her. The scene of the woman that was supposed to be his daughter. Of course, the scene where they're in the wasteland, and Stallone grabs this woman who's screaming, and you realize that was his daughter. That's why he was so desperate to protect her. That's why he was.
Interesting.
Elizabeth Ruscio. Yeah, and it's like amazing because I remember you talking about the DC line, the DC Demolition Man line, and there's some amazing scenes in there. Like she's like, he's like, okay, I'm going in the ice. Here's my badge. Here's my hat. It's you gotta look after this for me. And then At the end of the movie, they cut it out, but there's a scene at the end, right before he goes after Simon Phoenix. In the crowd, she hands him back the hat and the badge, and she redons him the Demolition Man. That's how he gets his uniform back at the end. They never talk about it in the movie, but the next scene it cuts to send a maniac to catch one, and he fucking fires up that car.
Oh man!
Do you think the GTO in here is the same one as? Is that the car from Thomas Jane's The Punisher?
I don't know.
You know what? You mentioning that car, how it was mentioned in Beverly Hills Cop. Like I said, Stallone liked to recycle his ideas. I bet you that was the same car he wanted to use for Beverly Hills Cop, Cobra.
Could have been.
Yeah. It's such a great car. If it's the one I'm thinking, it's like in Punisher, he has that green.
Yeah.
Charge. I don't know. Kind of reminds me of that. That guy, that Mark Hawley. Oh my God, it's fantastic. that the guy who sings to him in the fucking diner.
yeah. Oh, that guy. Yeah.
Yeah. My wife watches Nashville, and I saw him on that, and I was like, wow, he's good.
Terry Heck.
I sent him request, but he never answered back yet. So.
Anyways.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
Are you
on
good?
a tangent.
Are you good?
No, it's interesting though. Appreciate it.
Thank you. You guys want to jump into Cobra?
Yeah.
Or Cobra sequels? Okay. So an earlier draft.
Was that?
Yeah.
Because I thought that's what you were going to go into anyway when you mentioned the sequels earlier. Yes.
Yeah. Paul, give me a second here.
He's getting a pizza. He's gonna cut it up with the like Cobra. Yeah, the scissors. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So it says in earlier drafts of the script, the story was, and most of the plot parts were the same, like in the final film. Although, just like the original cut, there were more parts which explained the plot better and more character scenes. Like, for example, Cobra was introduced in the scene where he teaches some of the young cops about how they should deal with hostage situation, and later in the script he mentions how he had a girlfriend who was killed by some psycho he was trying to find, and that there's and that's the reason why he became a member of the zombie squad. So while the script has some parts that Stallone wrote in his rejected version of Beverly Hills Cop script, those are mostly just action sequences and dialogue. And although the script still has lots of violence and gore, it's not as gory as the opening scene for Private Ryan, like Stallone said his Beverly Hills Cop script was, and it doesn't end the same way like that script with Lamborghini and the GTO car chase. There's a scene, there's that scene where Cobra and, the police chief are talking about the yacht.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually read the script, and yeah, it was very different. It would have been awesome if they had on the dock, but of course, Sly, he was complaining about mosquitoes at night, so they couldn't do it.
But that yacht scene, like the yacht scene, they took out the whole yacht. The yacht burns down. There's a fight. Cobra throws a shoe at somebody. There's there's a whole thing. But in that scene, when they're in the interrogation room, not the interrogation room, but when they're in the office, and Monty says, you've already caused all these people to die. Why don't you let this one live? Originally, that was like, you've already caused one of your girlfriends to die. Why don't you let this one live? And that's what sets Cobra off, and Cobra grabs the guy. Do you think that maybe they used, that similarity in the film? That's why Cobra got so mad at him and grabbed him?
You know what? Because even Monty, he even said he doesn't give a rat's ass for this girl. She's just another piece of light bait. So King Cobra here can cut a new notch. You've already caused a lot of people to die. Yeah. So that kind of gives you a clue that they didn't mention it, but they kind of gave you a clue that some history that Cobra had of Cobra's history with women or the way he is.
Previous love interest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's weird because there's like a lot of things in here that, are kind of like John Wicky. I guess we'll get to those. But in other early drafts opening shootout didn't take place at the grocery store, but instead it took place in a packed movie theater. That was a pretty awesome scene because you get like a scene with Cobra suiting up like Rambo outside the theater, and then he walks over and Monty has the coffee. He drinks Monty's coffee and he says, and Monty's like, "Well, what do you think about all this carnage? What are you gonna do? What do you think?" And Cobra looks at him and says, "Too much sugar." It's on the coffee.
No, you can the coffee scene. You can tell that was originally for the scene where he drunk the beer in the grocery store.
Yeah. And I know like a lot of the rumors for this are that this stuff was being saved for the sequel. I know I hear that rumor all the time. I should have asked that guy when I was talking to him about that, but it's like the one thing that slipped my mind, ironically. But I could see this being an awesome opening to the sequel because it kind of like, you know, like how Stallone's very much like in that. You see that in a lot of like action movies, how they'll go back to the first one and find little parts of things they liked, and they'll reuse that in the sequel. You know, like the Rambo hunting montage they use it in all 5 films, or like Rocky, how like, you know, you start off watching the ending of the last one.
Yeah.
I can see that in here a little bit.
And was Andrew Robinson? They were setting up like he was the leader of the New World Order, right?
I read the script, and I was like, you know, it would have been, yeah, he deserved to get punched at the end, but it would have been awesome if he deserved, because he was the last guy Cobra kills at the end. It doesn't end with him riding off to Voice of America's Sons. It ends with him at the last shot where I think he grabs Ingrid, and Cobra just looks at him. He just shoots him in the head. You don't see it, but it just fades to black.
Yeah, it's a great ending.
Who do you think, like...
Because it automatically sets you up for a sequel. It automatically is like, okay, you want more Cobra right now.
I'm sorry, John, you were about to say something?
No, I was thinking like, okay, if Andrew Robinson came back, who would you have as sort of that brute villain? Like, and not like sort of like a Brian Thompson, but maybe, of course, you can't bring him back. Oh, the guy from Cyborg?
I definitely would have seen Dolph Lundgren because it would be a good follow up for after Rocky IV for sure.
Sonny Landham and Vince Klein.
Definitely.
I could see in Cobra too. Or Robert Zadar.
Yeah.
Yeah, Stacy Keach or Powers Booth.
Powers Booth would have been interesting.
Oh my God, I missed that guy. I really missed that guy.
Sin City. Oh my! Or that Van Damme hockey one there.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
Of course, him and Brandon Lee, Rapid Fire.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, Rapid Fire is another one I gotta watch again. I haven't seen it since I was a little kid.
It was filmed in Chicago. Another good action movie filmed in Chicago.
That's a great one.
I want to mention that movie theater thing. That would have been so intense. And you know what was interesting about it? That the bad guys, you get to know the motivation for the bad guys.
Yeah.
The scene where they're talking in some crazy language. And
they have a scene where they have a baby doll, where they sacrifice the baby, you know, in the beginning, right when this is happening. Like, you know, like right before this happened, they have like a baby doll. And you're led to believe that maybe, well, at the time you don't know it, but later on, connecting Monty to it, that could have been Monty doing the sacrifices.
Right.
Yeah.
And the fact this guy killed all these people in the movie theater, that was so strange because, of course, we had a sad killing that happened for real when the Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very graphic, too. Like, he walks in, he walks down the aisle, he walks to the screen, he turns around, and he's shooting people, like, in the front row. He's, like, just boom, 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 and, like, the chairs are flying up. You know, like, it's like a total bloodbath. Total bloodbath. So I wonder, like, if they ever did that sequel, would they have kept true on their promise and used this for the sequel? Because there's a lot of things that they never touch on.
If they do a sequel, they're gonna have a scene like that in it, because I remember there's this movie I own called Suicide Squad, very underrated movie. It was kind of like The Untouchables, where they had a scene where they shot up people in a movie theater, but they had to remove it because of what happened at the theater with The Dark Knight Rises. I could see them doing it with the sequel.
Yeah.
How crime is more vicious than ever, because this kind of stuff didn't happen back in the 80s. It's happening now, so it would have been interesting to take that and put it in the sequel now.
And it's weird because there's like escalative themes to it. Like, you start off, right? It starts off with the New World Order doing these, like, kind of like a faux sacrificial thing. And then, so it kind of feels like if they were going to do a sequel, it kind of feels like they're coming back. And it's weird because you get Cobra, and he's teaching these police officers. It's kind of like he's teaching a new zombie squad. And then when he goes to the movie theater, he's driving a squad car. So it kind of fits like, okay, well, his regular car was destroyed in the first one, so you can see that. And then you get the suit-up scene with him, which is very much like the ending of Cobra when he's putting the gun together and getting the grenades out, but he has all these weapons on him. So it's kind of like, well, that could have been an interesting opening to a sequel.
Yeah, that would have been cool. I think they should have. I wonder what kind of time frame though he would have Stallone be looking at, like if he were to done it back in the day.
I could see this in like 93, 92, 93.
And if they decide to do a sequel, do you bring up the whole zombie squad thing? That would have been a good come full circle. How in the first film, the bad guys had their army, and now Cobra has his own army with the zombies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it says, movie theater, and while we only see the one guy being killed in the opening action sequence or scene in the film, in the first verse of the script, the psycho kills a bunch of people in the theater, shooting and blowing them to pieces with a shotgun. The entire middle of the script after the scene where Ingrid is attacked in the parking lot was very different than the film. After talking with Ingrid in the hospital, which is a shout out to Running Duck, because they do that scene in there right after you meet Cobra and Gonzalez. Cobra returns to his place, and the gang members attack him. And they also kill his dog by drowning him. And the dog is a Jack Russell.
I did read the thing.
That was a sad scene.
Kind of similar to Dirty. I can tell they kind of took that from Dirty Harry and Sudden Impact. They didn't kill the dog, but they killed his partner, and they wounded the dog. He was limping.
Yeah. It sucks because you get that other scene where Cobra comes home, right, when he cuts up the pizza and he hands it to the dog.
I would have been.
The dog with the pizza.
I can see him having a dog, and he does the same thing with the pizza, but he doesn't eat it. He lets the dog eat it first. That would be a great touch.
Yeah.
Because there's like scenes in that where he talks to the dog and stuff, and yeah, it's so sad. Yeah, so they kill the dog by drowning him. Cobra gets hurt, but manages to fight them off and kills one, and then others try to escape in their car. Cobra chases them with his car, and after the car chase, it's very similar to the one in the film. It only took place during the night. The gang members crash, and two of them die in the crash. I think there's a scene also where he throws him through a table saw. He throws a guy through a table saw.
And the two car chases, that would have been awesome for Cobra instead of just one.
Exactly.
Yeah, get as much out of that car, So the last gang member tries to escape on foot, and Cobra chases him and manages to catch up and fights with him. The gang member tries to stab him. Cobra breaks his neck. And during this part, the Night Slasher, who was originally called Abaddon, demon from the Bible. Yeah, they do mention him in script.
They gave him a name in the script.
Yeah, it's going on Michael Myers in the hospital while searching for Ingrid, and not only that he kills people with his knife, but also kills some with his bare hands. I don't think that the hospital scene was as violent in the original cut as it was in the script, though it was probably one of the most heavily cut scenes of the film. when I talked to Karen Kardashian, she said that her death scene, they had to cut that out too because Brian cut her all different ways.
Okay.
In the car, blood everywhere. She said it was very graphic. So instead of the part where New Order gang members were trying to kill Ingrid and Cobra during the car chase, like in the film, there was a completely different version of the scene in the script, which was really like something out of a horror film. Cobra, Ingrid Gonzalez, and Stock are hiding on a ship in the middle of the harbor. And while around the docks, around the docks, and kill all the cops who are guarding the ship, and they managed to get on the ship because of the night and fog, and they set it on fire. But Cobra and Gonzalez kill all of them in a shootout. Yeah, it's just this huge shootout on the mayor's yacht, which they address in. They don't address that in Cobra, but they say, "Oh, we're gonna put the girl on the yacht." Remember, they said we're gonna put her on the presidential yacht. She'll be safe over there.
You know what? I would love to see for the sequel. I would love to have a scene in the yacht, on a yacht.
That would have been cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because Cobra, at one point he takes off his boot and he throws it at the guy to distract him, and he comes out through the smoke and he's like bam, bam, bam. He's taking people down. All right, so the ending was also different. Instead of it taking place early in the morning, it takes place in the middle of the night. And when gang members start attacking the motel, they also throw the decapitated head of the motel owner through the window of the room where Cobra and Ingrid are hiding. Then instead of the big chase scene with motorcycles, the ending action scene takes place in the woods, in which Cobra and Ingrid run after Cobra shoots their way out of the burning motel. So to finish off, it says, while Ingrid is hiding and running away, Cobra picks off gang members one by one with his submachine gun, the porcelain Jetomatic. And when he runs out of ammo, he also has to use his bare hands to kill some of them. And just like in the movie, the last part of the scene takes place in the factory. And in the ending, after all the bad guys are dead and Cobra makes sure Gonzalez will be okay, since in this ending, not only did he get shot, but also burned. The asshole detective Monty shows up, upend, and it turns out that he is actually the leader of the New Order.
Monty
Python. And he tries to, but he turns around to face Cobra, who is pointing his gun at him. And then the scene would cut to black, bang, into credits.
Interesting.
Wow. Wow.
Now, what if Monty got away in the sequel and he becomes the father in Hellraiser? And he becomes...
That would have been a good point, Doc.
So now I guess we're going to look a little bit at Fair Game, the remake of Running Duck. And technically a Cobra remake as well. Would you say it's a Cobra remake? I think it's a Cobra remake.
I've never seen Fair Game. I've heard about the movie. I've heard the title, but I've never seen the movie.
I was thinking we put in a little bit. I think we kind of squeeze in the talk about a little bit of the soundtrack.
Yeah, go for it. That's a great way to start off.
So you want to start with the soundtrack?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think that's one of the reasons why the movie is so remembered is that soundtrack. Of course, the song. The first song, it was the first video I've seen of Cobra when I was very little. It was called "Feel the Heat," and it actually featured the scene where Stallone he's looking at the night slasher with the red dot on his face. And I remember being so scared because I remember being so scared because I thought he was looking at me.
That's a great beat too. That so good, so good, and that guitar solo. Oh man.
You know what? I think I've come to something here. Going back to Beverly Hills Cop, because they both. I think Stallone still wanted to compete with Beverly Hills Cop because he had the songs. Both songs had songs involving the word heat in it. Because Beverly Hills Cop, the heat is on, and then you had the Feel the Heat with Cobra, So I think Stallone wanted to rival with Beverly Hills Cop, even with Cobra. Of course, don't forget the scene in Beverly Hills Cop 2. You know the one I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. That's cool. I was watching a Disney Penguins documentary, and they had that Beverly Hills 2 Cop song in the intro. I can't remember what it is now. But it's in there.
With a Shakedown?
No, it's the other one.
Neutron Dan?
No, it's another one. It's from Beverly Hills Cop 2, though.
Oh.
I can't remember what it is.
Does it? Where is it play in the movie? Where is it play?
I think. Well, no. Heat is on is when he's getting ready in the beginning, right?
No. Heat is on is from the first movie.
Okay, yeah. What's the song when he's getting ready in the beginning of the second movie?
Shakedown from Bob Seger.
Shakedown, man. It might be that.
That's a good song. Shakedown.
I only saw like 10 minutes of that movie, so.
That was directed by Tony Scott.
Yeah, I started watching Days of Thunder finally.
Oh, how'd you like that?
So far, so good. I'm halfway through. I love it.
Man, that's a good one.
Just like Top Gun, I would love to see him do a sequel to that.
It's a good movie. It's a good movie.
Yeah,
I didn't see why it was so great back then.
Very underrated. It didn't do well when it came out, but it's very underrated.
Yeah, like anything from Tony Scott that I can watch from the first time, I'm like, yes.
That's a
like
great
True Romance, my favorite.
Man, I love True Romance, man. True Romance. I mean, yeah. Tony Scott. It's very sad that he died. He was up there with my top. He was my number 2 favorite director. Not my number 1, definitely John Carpenter, but he was my favorite. He had the way that style because he was a painter. He started out. He used his background as a painter, and he used it for movies. He did a good job. And of course, you know his brother Ridley from Blade Runner and Alien. Let me ask you this: can you imagine if Tony Scott directed Cobra?
Oh, it would have been different.
That would have been cool.
I think it would have been better. I think it would have been, or maybe if you get him for the sequel.
Yeah, direct the sequel. Yeah.
Oh my God! Can you? Because Tony Scott, he's known for that music video type, you know, because the sky is so orange, you know, and all that. Yeah, like a music video type. No, it would have been awesome if he directed Cobra or the sequel, man. He brought that Miami Vice type of music video vibe to it, you know.
Have you seen Domino?
No, I haven't.
I have seen. No.
That one's really good. That one's
you know
really,
what? Going back to Miami Vice. A lot of people say the movie Drive was inspired. The style of that movie Drive with Ryan Gosling was inspired by the style of Cobra. But you know what? If you watch Cobra, you can tell they kind of took some notes from Miami Vice, seeing how dark and gritty it was with a little bit of the light and everything. Because
when Cobra is descending into when he goes to the tattoo shop and he's shaking down the guys. You can see a lot of that there.
That was like a music video. That was something you would see on Miami Vice because Miami Vice was huge at that time because it was like every episode of Miami Vice was like a short music video.
Yeah.
And it was
MTV Cops.
MTV Cops, yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, I agree.
Wow. I gotta pick those up on Blu-ray.
Shoot.
So what other songs do you like in the movie?
I like that Skyline.
Oh my God!
Really use it.
I need to listen to the soundtrack again. I mean, I love the soundtrack.
It's like an elevator scene or something like that they didn't use it for.
They didn't use it because Cobra. He's in the elevator and you hear that music. He's looking down at the city. I'm like, oh my God! I mean, they even used that. We're going to get to it later in the video game. That was the theme in the video game. And you know what I've noticed? On YouTube lately, a lot of people are really are really impressed by that piece of music that they even did their own remixes of it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Can you imagine? I can see them using that in the sequel. They should put that in the sequel.
Definitely.
Bring it back for the sequel.
Have you got to see the Cobra comic book, the Hungarian comic book?
I saw the post. I saw a picture of it. I never got a chance to go. I remember when I was a kid, there was I bought a Commando action figure. And it came with a little comic book of the movie.
Yeah, they're doing what do you call that? not an auction, but like a winner sweepstakes to get those original Commando comic books right now.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I found it last week when I was doing Commando research on Valverde for when we did the Arnold special.
Oh, that was a good story, man.
Man.
I'll send you that link as well so you can check it out. Maybe you can win one of those comic books. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, send me the link. Send me the link to that for sure.
Okay. All right, so
Go ahead.
Paula Gosling's Cobra sequel, or remake, I should say, regarding a strange credit I've been searching forever to uncover the truth behind the unreleased Cobra 1999. Jack Craven. Wait, okay, hold on. That was like a side intro. Okay, besides it makes no sense. Wait, hold on a second. I'm reading out of frame here. Okay, so Jack writes, don't jump to conclusions or theories just yet, Matt. From what I gather, this is the most likely just a reissue of her original novel, but retitled due to cult following Cobra had even back then. It's not like it was going to be retitled Fair Game, considering how bad it was and how big box office bomb the film was. Besides, it makes no sense why would she write a sequel novel for Cobra when it's barely similar to her original novel, if you think about it. That's based on, I had found this, not prompt, you know, like when they have, like, in the back of the book, the other writings by the author?
Yeah. And
one of them said Cobra 1999. Actually, I'll just read the whole thing. Regarding a strange credit I've been searching for forever to uncovering the truth behind the unreleased Cobra 1999, Jack Craven to the rescue once again. Happy face. Thank you, old friend Jack Rice. Do not jump to conclusions or theories just yet, Matt. For what I gather, this is most likely just a reissue of her original novel retitled due to the cult following Cobra had even back then.
There was a cover of the book where it showed a Fair Game where it showed Cobra sunglasses.
Yeah,
but
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
yeah, and I was like, do you think maybe she wrote more of that or whatever? I tried to reach Paula and I could never reach her. I wrote Jack about it, but that was his response to that. But if you look back at her catalog, it says Cobra 1999. So I was always like, did she like write a draft that was more to Cobra, or did she like, write a sequel draft, or what happened? And I tried to get it, and I could find all of her books on Kindle except for that one. So I even think there's an out of print. There was an out-of-print edition on that. But anyway, so it says, besides it makes no sense why she would write a sequel novel for Cobra when it barely similar to her original novel, if you really think about it. Again, only time when Warner Brothers and Sly had any plans for Cobra sequels during the production of the first film, and for some time after it was released. Yeah, Sly was also originally involved to star in Fair Game, but I guess he could see that it was going in the wrong direction, so he walked away and did the specials. Imagine if he would have done it and it would have been a sequel to Cobra.
That would have been interesting. So around 94, maybe?
Yeah, 95. Fair Game. I think Fair Game came out in 95. He came out with Judge Dredd that year, so he would have done that instead of Judge Dredd.
I probably would have said, hey, give me a Cobra sequel over... If I had known now what Judge Dredd, it's not a great movie, but
yeah,
be like, Stallone, do that Cobra sequel. Don't do Judge Dredd because I know you're going to take off that mask, and you're going
to.
He could have fitted in if he really wanted to. He could have fitted in.
Or you know what? How about this? Do Cobra sequel, and just pass on Assassins.
Yeah.
I would. Yeah.
But you know what? Every time I watch the new Dredd with Carl Urban, it kind of give you that feeling that what Stallone would have done if he was in that. And it kind of gives you a little bit of homage to Cobra. It kind of felt like, I remember someone, I'm not sure if it was one of our friends, but on YouTube, someone did a Dredd Carl Urban music video with the song "Feel the Heat."
Nice.
That's cool.
Well, it's weird when you get into that because when Dredd was coming, not only when they were making the movie Dredd, but 2000 AD threw in, DC Comics threw in, and they did I think it was a 17-issue prequel line to Judge Dredd, which at the point when I used to go to this place called Stromix Comics, and the Wilkinson brothers over there, I was like, do you have anything on the Stallone Judge Dredd movie coming out? And they were like, okay, take this. And I'm like, okay, well, these guys just want me to get familiar with Judge Dredd. What I didn't know at the time, being so young, was a prequel to Judge Dredd. There was 7-issue prequel, and then after that, there was another 13-issue prequel by DC, and then there was the comic adaptation of the movie, and then following the comic adaptation of the movie, they did read-along books, and then to finish it off, they did a sequel series to Judge Dredd, where they reimagined the entire, well, I have to say for all three of them, they reimagined the entire Mega City 1 for Stallone. And there's a 26-issue, 4-story arc each issue sequel. And it's very Cobra. Like, he comes up against Judge Death, and it's very much like that. This is where the law stops scene. It's very much like that. And he only takes off, out of all of the issues, maybe like 75 to 100 issues, he only takes off the helmet one time, and that's when he's receiving his bionic eyes, because his eyes get shot out.
Huh.
But the whole thing is designed for Stallone. And there's interviews and everything. I'm pretty sure that's where I heard about the T-1000 being of alien origin, was in that book. Like, there's all of these, he even looks like Stallone. Like, they draw him like Stallone. And, there's a part where he's driving his I forget the name of the motorcycle. But he's driving it down the street, and it passes the Stallone block. And behind him, you have the Stallone block. I'm trying to do reviews on that, and that was the picture I set for, the image for the show was Sly as Judge Dredd on his, motorcycle driving past the Stallone block of Mega City 1. But there's all these crazy stories, like Sly fighting T-Rexes, Sly fighting, and I would love to see them go back and make that into an animated show, because it's so good. It's so good. It kicks the shit out of the movie.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And don't forget, you can tell that Judge Dredd inspired RoboCop.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Judge Dredd. Fucking Joe Rogan made a joke about that on his show the other day.
Really?
Can I play 30 seconds of Joe Rogan, or do you think they'll cut it?
I don't know. I'm probably going to put this on YouTube.
All right, so we'll save that then. Where he's like, it's like, I go outside and it's like the law. It's like fucking Judge Dredd.
The law. Law.
Yeah.
I'm on Asante.
Yeah, he was talking about Demolition Man 2 also the other day. They got into it big time.
He shouldn't waste so much energy on Demolition. He should take that energy he has for Cobra.
Yeah.
Enough. Yeah.
Take that energy you have for Demolition Man, put it for Cobra. It's a perfect time, man. Stop being hesitant. We got to talk about this, because that's the reason why why we haven't got a sequel, because Stallone, he's so hesitant. I think he's traumatized because the movie didn't do that well, despite the fact that it made good business. He's somehow traumatized by it.
And it's weird because you would think that Sly would have saw. Sly would have said, okay, well, you know what? Sly's very good when it comes to people like that, an audience, that he would have been able to determinate from that. He would have been able to say, oh, you know what? Maybe we need 2 or 3 Cobra movies.
But he knows.
Oh,
You still there, Wildman?
he blew the fuse.
Cobra.
Oh, nice laugh you got to him.
I'm sorry. I even made a Facebook page like, should there be a Cobra 2? And still to this day, people are still liking it like crazy, man.
Yeah.
People are still hungry. I know this. I know Stallone knows this. Oh, come on, Sly. Stop being hesitant.
For that. I did a submission video for that.
Yeah.
For the Cobra petition page.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I talked about my dad. My dad got me into Cobra. It was just, a one really good memory I have with my dad. Yeah. I was originally scared to death of that. I don't know about you guys seeing that at a young age, but for me, I was scared to death of that movie.
Yeah. Oh, because there's slasher elements, really, when you look back at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing we got to bring up, because that's like I like that idea how you have a slasher, have you take an action hero and put him into a horror film situation, kind of like they did with Chuck Norris with Silent Rage, kind of like they did with Charles Bronson with 10 to Midnight, like Schwarzenegger with End of Days. You don't see that much anymore. That's what I like about it. That movie is so, and people shit on it because of that. Get the fuck out of here.
That was the same kind of thing I was trying to mention as in the Judge Dredd 95. The 2-year comic is because it drops you into that. It's like Judge Dredd, but imagine if Judge Dredd, the sci-fi elements and the horror elements, it kind of feels like that. And like, Judge Dredd, but really, like, it had one of the most amazing marketing campaigns ever known to man. And people just shit on that movie, but if people really knew the work that went in behind the scenes to recreate a world, because Judge Dredd is not a linear character, but he's like, he's a real-time character. Like, the Judge Dredd in the 70s is the same Judge Dredd we have today. The time is gone. He's aged with the time. So he's like, what, 80 years old now?
It's the same thing with RoboCop. I think the reason I'm looking, why I hope they do this RoboCop Returns movie, because time has passed him by, but he's still old school. That's what I remember. Remember when I told you Peter Weller came back to lend his voice for RoboCop in that Mortal Kombat game?
Yeah, it's cool too, because that would be perfect for him, because that script for the RoboCop sequel, the new RoboCop sequel, it tailors to that, like the Peter Weller from the past as opposed to the Peter Weller now. It totally brings you, there's no time in that when you read it, even though it was written so long ago, that you don't think that it's not the same RoboCop. It's like RoboCop, but the only difference is he's been in stasis and in pain for like 50 years.
Yeah.
Right.
So cool to think about.
They do a RoboCop. I don't want to write the crap stupid KFC commercial. Jeez Christ.
I had some KFC last week and it was nowhere near as good as it used to be.
You go to the KFC.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So again, the only time when Warner Brothers and Sly had any plans for Cobra sequels during production of the first film, and for some time after it was released. Sly was originally involved to star in Fair Game, but I guess he could see that if it was going in the wrong direction, so he walked away from it and did The Specialist, which is weird because Specialist is another one that's like 11 books and so many great adventures for The Specialist, but they decided to focus on War Against the Mafia for the Specialist movie. Excuse me.
For the sequel, he went after the mafia. That would have been awesome, man. Cobra against the mafia. Oh my god.
Like the Specialist, because the Specialist was based on the Cutter books, right? And that was like 11 books, I think, maybe more, but the 11 books, and the one that it's kind of like, like Jack Reacher, how they jumped into the film, and they did the movie based off of one shot.
Yeah.
This one is like the Specialist. They based it off of War Against the Mafia, so it was like halfway through.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. So it's like one of those things where, like, I would love, they could have made like 11 Specialist movies. I'm gonna skip over this part. It just says that that's me just adding in here that I bet Sly did do it. Then maybe we would have gotten Cobra 2. Not one of my favorite films of his, but I'm glad he chose to star in that one instead of Fair Game. I retract that a lot because Cobra, especially now, like after a lot of things I've gone through in my life, like my father passing away and stuff, I look back at that film like really something special. Like when I grew up, we had this crappy. I talked about this a little bit in Isaiah's video. We had this crappy little video store inside this mall, and later on they moved it to this huge mall. If people out there want to see that, if they go to my Facebook, they can actually see that because I did a video on that video store. It was like a 2-story video store. And that was my introduction to Cobra. Like my dad rented it. He brought it home. My dad fell asleep before, when he was putting it on. So I got, during the trailer, so I got to actually watch, sit on the front, sit on at the foot of the bed and watch the movie for myself. And I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified. It was such a great... It's weird because you're so used to seeing Sly as Rocky and Rambo, and then you throw him into this other world.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like one of those where, like, you're still familiar with Sly, but he's this new character. So it's like, it's a very... I hold it close to my heart. It's like a very genuine film.
It is, and I would have loved, like I said, he was planning to do a franchise just like with Rambo and Rocky, but something happened. He's been hesitant since. Now he wants to do this spin-off TV show with the Zombie Squad with him guest starring. Come on, man. Steven Seagal tried that with that. Remember that show, True Justice?
Yeah.
He was.
You gotta shoot a hole through this hole that you're shooting.
Yeah.
He wasn't in it a lot. I don't want to see that with Cobra. I want him. He wants to do it with Robert Rodriguez. No, I want to see an actual Cobra sequel on screen. Come on, Sly. Stop being hesitant. Please.
It's like one of those teases, like Troutman in Force of Freedom. It's like a tease where you want to see the fourth Rambo, you want to see Rambo and Troutman together, and you don't get it. It feels like that.
Exactly.
All right, so it says, it would have been nice to know more about the history of scripts for Cobra and Fair Game than we already know, because both films had a lot of issues when it comes to the scripts. You all already know how, even though Cobra was based on Gosling's novel, it was actually more of just Stallone reusing his rejected scripts for Beverly Hills Cop more than anything else. But Fair Game also had its own bad history when it comes to script problems, although in the film, Charlie Fletcher is only one who's credited for writing the script. There were more writers who worked on it who didn't get credit. This eventually led to some lawsuits between writers in the studio. Here's one in the court documents if you're interested. John and I were going to do that one, but we decided on not doing it just because...
It's a link to a court document.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So it says, however, this was just during initial production and the shooting of the film. After bad test screenings, Warner Brothers tried to save the film any way they could, and this involved getting new writers involved and reworking the film, then reshot and re-edited much of it. And even they changed the score. Even Stephen E. D'Souza, our man, was brought in to help with the rewrites. But in the end, it still didn't help the film. At one point during this, they even considered cutting Cindy Crawford's screen time down and dubbed her voice because test audiences hated her acting so much.
That movie killed her movie career. She said ever since that movie, she never did acting ever again. That movie killed her acting career.
It's sad because it's like one of those stepping stones. Like, that was her introduction into it. She should have been allowed to blossom. You know what I mean? She should have been given.
That movie was supposed to be like a stepping stone for her because they promoted it for her.
Yeah, it's like if they took Julia Roberts and like cut her off after Pretty Woman. You know?
Yeah.
Well, because you had Alec Baldwin. He was the big Baldwin. No one gave a damn about who's William Baldwin.
I actually love Fair Game.
I haven't seen it.
I love that movie a lot. I mean, like, I love that movie even way back when I didn't even know it was a Cobra sequel. Like, I still love that. Like, I really do like that movie. I just bought a copy of it like last year. A new copy of it.
I need to find it just to watch it.
There is a scene in that movie where they do mention Sly, where Stephen.
Yeah, but the guy's like, "Hey, Sly," and he slaps him.
Yeah.
There was a Cobra homage to that, yeah, which is nice.
Yeah. So it says not to spend any more time on
the Beverly Hills Cop and Rambo and Stephen Burkhoff.
Yeah, and then in Beverly Hills Cop 2, they have the Cobra poster.
Yeah.
And the Rambo poster. Yeah. So it says not to spend any more time on detailing history of Fair Game, but you can read about it here. And it has 2 links there. I don't know if you guys want to go into that. But they're there.
I think one, Wikipedia, it's like the production of Fair Game, and then there's a link for IMDb that goes into the trivia of the movie.
Yeah, they're very long.
I gotta mention this to you guys. You know, the book was written by Paula Gosling, which is strange because is she somehow related to Ryan Gosling?
I don't think so.
But that Drive movie has been sitting on my desk to watch for a long time now. So
I went to that because the woman's name is Paula Gosling, and Ryan Gosling is a fan of Rambo, and he ends up doing the movie Drive, which is kind of inspired by Cobra.
Mm-hmm. And he is also the choice Stallone gave for the next Rambo.
Oh, God.
And the son of Rambo. He also talks for the son of Rambo.
No, it doesn't say anywhere. I think it's spelled the same way, but I don't think there's no relation to the actor.
Stay away from Rambo, Ryan. You already did a sequel to Blade Runner. That's enough old school franchises, please. Blade Runner was enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's it, I guess.
Yeah, this was a good discussion. Went in depth on a little bit of Cobra here.
And it just like the side notes are Running Duck, the Cobra novel, originally by Paula Gosling, Cobra 1986, the Cobra comic book from Hungary. I'm sure if you go check it out on Rambo Mania, you'll find I posted the whole comic book there. The Cobra video games, which we talked about, the Fair Game remake, which was greenlit last year, but I don't know if they're going to do it now. I'm pretty sure they're going to do it, but I just don't know. Robert Rodriguez is sequel series also, with Stallone attached.
Let me put this one in right quick. What crossovers you think you would have seen for Cobra? I would have seen Dirty Harry for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would love to see that, and I would love to see him cross over with Malchek from Fair Game, honestly. Even Cindy Crawford. If they threw out William, if they couldn't get Baldwin and they went with Crawford, I would definitely take that. Because I kind of feel a little bit robbed that we didn't get Stallone in Fair Game.
You know what would have been cool? Me mentioning how the
I'm still thinking about that question.
You know how I would have loved to see a crossover with Cobra and Miami Vice.
Oh yeah, I would love that. Or Last Action Hero.
Yeah.
I almost think that maybe if maybe you could have done something. I don't know. I know we're just kind of thinking a little bit here, but maybe Above the Law, that character, like Steven Seagal back in the day.
Yes.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's an interesting question to think about.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, this was a good discussion, and
Oh, fun.
very interesting.
Yes.
And yeah, that's it for this one, and we'll definitely have to do this again.